Hello everybody and welcome to Mamushi's review of Nosferatu, Wrath of the Malachi. This game takes place in 1912 alongside the Titanic, because not only is the sea out for disaster, so is this atmospheric castle. It's not the scariest of places, but it does give you quite an oppressive vibe, which is pretty helpful to have for this kind of scenario. Obviously you don't want to be just singing and dancing your way across the castle, although I did do that a fair few times. The main courtyard is a safe place, safe area, so in case you're worried that something's going to jump at you from the get-go, you'll be fine. The only thing that will jump out at you is a window-breaking clergyman. The main goal is to save as many relatives or civilians as possible before Malachi rises from his slumber. All civilians and relative placements as well as the items are completely randomised in the castle, bar a few, as they need to make sure that they're in certain places so you don't progress too far in the game. The characters themselves are pretty wacky. You can definitely tell that the voice actors themselves had a lot of fun with the dialogue and with the way it was all written. But it's quite a nice change of pace, especially to this day and age where everything has to be taken as seriously and lack personality as possible. Otherwise, it doesn't get a 9.5 or a 10 out of 10 review, because games are serious business. The AI for the characters can be extremely picky sometimes. For example, if you sprint for too long, sometimes they just completely lose sight of you and will stand still until you run back up to them, give them a little pep talk so they can just carry on following you through the castle. They will fight the enemies, however, so they do have that going for them. Some of the NPCs actually have more power than others, so it's not like you've got an 80-year-old woman can punch as hard as a 25-year-old army man. Not only are the NPCs themselves quite wacky, the models are just taken to the extreme as well. Others leave nothing to the imagination, whereas some you can just see that they're properly puffed out chest, massive shoulders, ready to do business and knock out some vampires. Which begs the question, how come just a standard average Joe guy that I am, why am I the one who's fine and not the guy who looks like he can take on anything that comes near him? The combat in this game is your standard FPS point and click, thing does a die and you continue on your journey type of deal, but they seem to be more forgiving as well compared to most FPS games. For example, that whenever you hit like an enemy's arm, like a vampire's arm or leg, that does the same amount of damage as shooting them in the head, which is a bit of a shame because that means you're not going to get any critical hits on them, but at the same time it's like, okay, it just doesn't matter as long as you hit them, they're going to die eventually. The enemy placement is pretty good as well. Again, that's randomised to go with the whole vibe of the castle. Some of the vampires actually jump out at you at certain places. I'm not going to give too much away. Some of it will obviously be in the footage you're seeing, but some of it you won't expect at all. So some could be hiding and just buy like a health item, and just as you're about to collect it, bang, gotcha, you got a face full of fangs. Others, they like to just perch on top of door frames and just kind of wait for you to get to a certain distance, and then they'll jump out at you, which is pretty cool. But at the same time, if you know it's going to happen, you can just open the door, look up, and then just absolutely just jump and slash as much as you possibly can to just keep hitting them. Because for some reason, I don't know why, it must be a glitch, or maybe it's just unlucky on my part, but I couldn't shoot them when they're at those kind of scripted moments when they were going to jump out at you. I had to actually jump and hit them first, so any long ranged attacks just did nothing to them until they came out of that animation. The enemies themselves, that nothing really spectacular jumps out at me from when I played it, like, oh my god, this enemy was amazing, or god, this one was really tough. Unfortunately, that goes for the bosses as well, because the bosses are a piece of cake with some sprinkles on top, and then you have a little cup of hot chocolate as well, just to make you feel extra happy with your environment. They're not going to give you any problems. The only thing that will really trouble you is if you get like a good 6, 7, 8 enemies come at you all at once and then you're trying to take them all down. That's the only time you're really going to be in a bit of trouble. Although Cutwheel Jill, she is probably the toughest of the bosses, but even so, she was still pretty easy to beat. Back to all the relatives, because I mean, I haven't said what's the point in saving them, other than for obviously being a goody two-shoes where you just want to make sure that everybody's safe. The bonus you get for saving the relatives is it ranges from new weapons, armor, and some potions as well. Some of which are really useful, other weapons not so much. Definitely the one that sticks out in my mind is the Holy Chalice, which is way more powerful than any other weapon that you can possibly get, including a musket and a flintlock pistol. It just completely blows it out of the water. Speaking of which, there is water which you can make holy by using the crucifix, which you can just always fill up that chalice and just wreck everything that's in your path. You will breeze through as much as that castle as you can, as long as you've got that chalice when you need it. Other items you can get from the relatives are cloves of garlic, which ward off enemies, so ward off all the vampires. Some of them, they still actually stay with you. Some try not to stay away from you, try and be scared. Others will still attack you, but for the most part, the garlic will keep them away. Which always begs the question that, have I been packing my suitcases wrong? Because I always forget to put 5 kilograms of garlic in there whenever I go to a certain place. You can also get a canine companion, which is pretty cool. I mean, it's Fallout 4 before Fallout 4. Then again, there's been loads of canine companions that you get. But the AI, he's called Buster, the vampire-biting dog. And he's a little better at keeping up with you than the rest of the relatives. However, he does enjoy hiding for a decade, resurrecting, and then eventually leaping down a flight of stairs to his demise. Really making sure that you hate the AI as much as you possibly can in this game, which is a big shame because I didn't want to keep just waiting for everything to turn up to me, including Buster, and just go, right, let's now go on an adventure. So I just let him kill himself and then just carry on my journey. But as far as that goes, I'm sure you'll be happy to know that saving all the relatives has no effect on either of the 2 endings that you get, which is pretty disappointing because there should really be a third ending for saving everybody you possibly can. So after all my rambling, the rating for this game that I would give it personally is a 7 out of 10. It's not the greatest of games, but it's not bad at all. There's not too many glitches which will put you off, but it's £2.09 on Steam, not on sale as well, so it just seems silly for me to not even recommend it. Absolutely 7 out of 10, I'd recommend you go try it out for yourself. Yes, probably like me, you'll just play through one and then just go, right, I've got the ending. The job's a good one. But again, it's £2.09 for maybe 4 hours, maybe 4.5 hours of gameplay. It's well worth it. It's good fun. I enjoyed it, and I'm sure you will too.